you can join a table to itself. So why would you do that? Like normally, so far you've seen examples, customers, orders, you know, these are completely different data. It makes sense. Customers make orders. We want to get both customer data and order data. We join them on the customer ID. Why would you join a table to itself? We have a very typical example here. So let's read the question. It says, retrieve pairs of employees, right? So usually you would retrieve like each row, you know, would be one employee and another. Retrieve pairs of employees who share the same manager, and then display employee ID, name, last name, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to have you focus on this part. Retrieve pairs of employees who share the same manager. And we have a table, employees, has an employee ID, first name, last name, department, salary, manager ID. So a manager is also an employee, right? So the reason we will need a self-join here is because we want to determine whether an employee has a manager. But step by step, let's see what the employees table looks like. I just want to comment this out and just check out employees. So we're selecting everything from employees just to see what we're dealing with. All right, our output. So when we select everything from employees, we get some John Doe from sales. He has a manager with the ID 3, right? So that would probably be Michael. Here's an ID 3. There's Michael Johnson, also sales. He doesn't have a manager. So nothing is here, meaning he doesn't have a manager, right? And so on. So most people have managers. Some don't have a value here, meaning they don't have managers. But really what this column refers to is this column, but of another row. So we would need, if we want employee data along with manager data, we would need to join this table to itself and ensure something. So, all right, so let me walk you through the code. There's a lot here. And let's remind ourselves of the question. Retrieve pairs of employees who share the same manager. So I'm gonna uncomment the solution. So we are getting employee ID and first name of one employee, and then again, employee ID and first name of another employee. And we're getting the manager ID just once because we share the manager, meaning this is going to be the manager of both of these employees. We are giving the aliases E1 into E2 for the table. So this is a self-join. And who share the same manager, right? So our on clause is going to be E1 manager ID equals E2 manager ID. So whoever is the manager of employee 1 is going to be the manager of employee 2, right? And there is an additional clause here in the on, and I have a comment here. This is needed to avoid duplicates. So let's say we get an employee with ID 101 and 102, right? We don't want that repeated and get them again and pair them and get them in another row as 102, 101 ID. Does that make sense? Because if you fetch, let's see what our output was. 4. Here's Jane, here's Laura. Their manager ID is 4. they share the same manager, which is going to be Emily, right? So we want to have, let's say, just Jane and Laura listed and their manager, Emily. We don't want to have Laura and Jane, then again, and Emily. So what this ensures, like this is kind of advanced logic, but I have to explain this part of the solution. So most of the solution is covered here. We're fetching pairs of employees. So this is why there are two employees, E1 and E2, and their manager right here. And this is how we're ensuring they have the same manager. This extra criteria here just ensures we don't have duplicates. We get, what did I say the names are? Jane and Laura, and then we don't get essentially the same row, but in the reverse order, Laura and Jane, which would match right here. So we are ensuring first, just have the first employee have a smaller ID than the second employee. That's all it does. And that way, when the criteria, this criteria right here are met again for Laura and Jane, they won't be displayed again because Laura has a bigger employee ID. This is just to avoid duplicates. And again, other than ensuring they have the same manager so that this column matches, right? We also are checking that they actually have a manager, so that manager ID is not null. That's all this is, right? I'll run this. There are some specific requirements of this problem, which is to have the joint first name, last name, if you can see this. I don't want to show that right now because that requires another lesson, which we'll cover in advanced lessons. I'll show them separately. So I'll just show, what am I selecting? First name. And let me run this. It will show up as incorrect because I'm only doing first name, but you'll see that otherwise it's fully correct. So we have John and Karen and their manager 3, right? And Jane and Laura, manager 4, Jane and Sarah, manager 4, right? Laura and Sarah. So all of these combinations are unique. We have Jane and Laura, but like I said, because of this right here, we don't have Laura and Jane, and we don't have Sarah and Jane, and we don't have Sarah and Laura, right? So unique combinations, we are not duplicating it. This is why this is needed. That part is advanced logic. What I want you to focus on is this part of the solution, which is basically showing you that you can join a table to itself, fetch different in one row, different, columns, same columns from different rows, right? So so you can fetch name from one row and again name from another row. You're ensuring they're coming from different rows, right? Because you're ensuring that their employee ID is different, that their manager is the same. So a greater than operator would work. A different operator, I don't think so, like not equals wouldn't work because that's not ensuring, but this should. Let me try, unless it's requesting a certain order. Again, this is incorrect, but I'm telling you, it's because I only selected first name. I didn't want to do string wrangling because that's a lesson we'll cover later. But yeah, this is still avoiding duplicates. It's only showing first the employee 1 will be the one with the bigger employee ID. That's all it does. Like if we don't do this, like I'll show you, we will have duplicates. So, and of course, we will be also doing another thing, which is matching the same employee to themselves. But so we have Karen and John, and somewhere we would also have John and Karen. Yes, John and Karen. But other than avoiding duplicates by entering one employee ID smaller than the other, that also ensures that they are different. So you're not getting, people matching to themselves. That's another thing.